Hi, I'm Sandra Wheatley. I'm SVP at Fortinet, and today I'm delighted to have my colleague, Tony Giandomenico, who is Director of FortiGuard Response Services. And I'm delighted to have Tony here today to have a conversation about the cybersecurity industry and how many workers are looking to transition and reskill themselves. And we wanted to talk about cybersecurity and the opportunities in the industry. So Tony, let me start with having you talk a little bit about your career path and how you transitioned from the service industry into cybersecurity.
Sure, yeah. Gosh, that was a long time ago. But if I remember, yeah, so I was in the United States, Marine Corps, and as I transitioned out, I did spend 6 months, living on the beach for a little bit. But after I decided to come back to the real world, I was fortunate enough to have folks that were that had kind of left the service before me, and they had established a beachhead at a certain organization, and there were some openings in a position or in a location where I was at. So I was easily able to transition into that. Now, that was just IT and networking. It wasn't necessarily a cybersecurity role. It wasn't until maybe 5 years down the road or such, there was a compelling event at a trading firm. I was running the IT and security there, and we were migrating the traders over to a new environment, a new platform. And one of those tasks was copying files over. And I remember we finished that. I remember the traders calling me and said, "Hey, I thought you copied the files." I said, "I did." And then lo and behold, I went there and looked, and the files weren't there anymore. Well, 36 hours later, after we finally figured out there was a virus in the environment, it was the "I love you" virus back then. It was a script, right? Somebody ran that thing, and lo and behold, all of the files were gone. That was kind of exciting for me. That was my first kind of, dip in the water for cybersecurity. The other thing was, leadership goes, "Well, I need those files back." I said, "Well, they're deleted. I mean, how do we get them back?" And then I realized files don't really get deleted on a, disk. They just, they remove the kind of pointer to those files. So that was then again, my first insight into digital disk forensics. So that combination, I said, you know what, that's what I want to get into. And I learned for the next year or so everything I could about cybersecurity. And then I transitioned over to the Hawaiian Islands, and I started my own cybersecurity practice. And here I am today.
So I guess that transition was a little tough because you had to go back to the beach for a bit. But it's interesting how you got into cybersecurity, because it was something similar that happened to me. I was consulting for an organization, and they had experienced a hack into their company. And so I was working on that project for several months, and I just found it so fascinating that I decided there and then I was going into cybersecurity. Nice. And I landed at Fortinet. But what is your advice for individuals who are considering a new career in cyber?
First and foremost, I think, there are, when you say the word cybersecurity, and you don't know it well, you hear the news and everything about, that they're hacking here and hacking there, and it gets a little bit overwhelming. It's like, there's no way I can get into cybersecurity. My first thing is, if you want to get into cybersecurity reminds me of, Sandra, you remember the tip of the iceberg kind of picture where you see the tip of the iceberg out of the ocean, but then you see how deep it gets under the ocean. That's what I sort of think about with the breadth of opportunity that are available with cybersecurity. There's just so much opportunity there. And, I'm not bragging about this, but I never went to college. I was fortunate enough to be able to get to where I am now because I think one thing, there was an opportunity there, so I got a little lucky. But I think also there was a lot of information freely available. And I had one thing that the Marine Corps instilled in me, and that was a work ethic. And I worked my butt off to get to where I am. So I guess what I'm saying is like the opportunity is there. There's a lot of different roles where you don't necessarily have to be super technical either. Look at the us with Fortinet. There's a lot of different roles that it takes to run this business. You got the product managers, right, that are trying to actually build the actual products along with the developers. But then you have folks that are marketing. You have folks in your role that are communicating. You have sales folks. So there's a variety of different routes I think you can go where you don't necessarily need to be a cybersecurity expert.
You know what? I completely agree with that, because one of the things that I do is go out and talk to different groups about, the skills gap in cybersecurity and the opportunities there, especially for groups that are underrepresented, like women and other minorities, because I know, for example, women make about 20% of the workforce, but yet we have this looming gap. And some of the things I've learned are a lot of the misconceptions around this fact that you have to have a technical degree or computer science or something like that. And that's not the case. I mean, less than 50% of folks in the industry have a computer science degree. So lots of misconceptions. I love the fact that you talked about not having a degree, because I think that's another area that we're seeing. People today have different ways of learning and different ways of pursuing a career. And cybersecurity is one where you can go and you can get the training, something like the guild model or the apprenticeship model, and have a really fruitful career. And I think, one of the things Fortinet has done is, with their training advancement agenda, they've provided the NSC training for free to the public at large. And it's a great opportunity for people who are interested in transitioning or reskilling or just getting better at their roles to take advantage of that training. Any other insights or personal anecdotes that you can share about your journey along the way?
I think, how do you first, I get this question a lot, is, how do you first try, what do you do? I mean, I have these, I'm interested in getting in, but what are the different, roles that are available out there and what have you? I mean, there are a lot of them. I would suggest just kind of go online. I mean, us as vendors, cybersecurity vendors, there's a lot of interesting blogs out there that talk about, different roles. They talk about different sort of threats that they're seeing. One thought is, if you really want to start to understand what the threat actors are kind of doing and those types of things, a great example is the MITRE ATT&CK framework. We talk a lot about operationalizing MITRE ATT&CK and measuring your security defenses against MITRE ATT&CK and the tactics, techniques, and procedures that the adversaries are doing to complete their cyber mission. But that framework is also a great learning tool. I'm seeing more and more courses kind of crop up that are just using that as a base. You go to that website, you just Google MITRE ATT&CK, and you'll find the actual framework, and there's a vast amount of information that talks about what they're doing. And then they're even developing stuff on how to be able to defend against it. So this is just an example of some of the wealth of information that's available out there and freely at your fingertips. And I would say the only thing you need to have is the motivation and the passion just to get out there and start learning it.
Great. Thanks, Tony. That's really helpful. And I would encourage folks to go to Fortinet's training advancement agenda and check out our NSC Training Institute to learn more. We have not only all of our training free, but you'll also find information on different career pathways in cybersecurity, really outlining what you need to do and the various steps. So please take that time and visit Fortinet.com training. Thank you.